Good afternoon and welcome to day 2 of National Signing Day, the February edition. Greg Sharp along with Jessica Cootie. So glad to have you with us. We're going to lead you up to the top of the hour when the head coach, Matt Rhule, will meet with the media for the first time since signing day number 1 back in December. Jessica, they added 5 new high school players today. We're going to get to some video of those here in just a few minutes. Up to 39 new scholarship additions to Husker football. That's a lot of players.
Yeah, and obviously it's become the big days back in December, right before this coaching staff. They still had some additions that they want to make sure and bring in to help add depth in certain positions. And boy, I think they continue to knock it out of the park. Every guy that they bring on campus, I mean, their hit rate is unbelievable. And so I know that they're really excited about this group of guys. They got some transfer guys that's going to provide immediate experience, but then also some young high school talent that I know they're really, really excited about. And one theme too that we've heard from this coaching staff too is some of these guys might not have been highly recruited, but they believe that they can bring them in and develop them. And so some really extremely athletic, talented kids that even made their mark on some other athletic surfaces and caught the attention of this coaching staff playing basketball, running track, but certainly some high caliber talent that they believe they can get in here and develop.
Of the 39, 11 are transfer portal additions. That means 28 high school/junior college additions to the program. Two things that strike me. I think they went heavy for speed. A lot of these guys' resumes pretty heavy on speed, and they're back in Texas. Nebraska really hasn't been in Texas much since leaving the Big 12.
Absolutely. I mean, Texas high school football is just such a hotbed. It is crazy down there, the amount of talent, and everybody plays football, and there's such a huge emphasis. And so, yeah, speed and then opening up that pipeline back to Texas. And so excited to introduce you to a couple of those Texas guys coming up here in a little bit.
We're going to hear from a couple of them. They played at the same high schools. Interesting stories about both of them. We'll hear about that here coming up. All right. Again, top of the hour, Matt Rhule will meet with the media, has not met with the media since that day back in December when the first batch of announcements came out. But we're going to show you some video of some of the other young men who are now part of the program. And we're going to start with a couple of guys who signed in December but did not announce until January because they took part in the Under Armour All-American All-Star Game in Orlando. We'll start with Cameron Lenhart. He's a defensive lineman, 6'3", 245, prepped at IMG Academy down in Florida. Huskers have hit that before. Brock Bando played at IMG Academy a couple years ago. Now, Cam had been committed to the Huskers, then decommitted, and this staff got him back in the fold. Love his frame, 6'3", 245. This has edge rusher to me, screaming about his name. But again, IMG Academy, pretty high level of prep. He chose the Huskers over Michigan State and Penn State. And to get him to come back after decommitting, that's a pretty good get for this staff.
Yeah, and it was important. You know, I talked to Terrence Knighton about Cam Lenhart back when he had first committed, and he's really excited about him, but knew that he had to sell him for what this coaching staff was going to do, and Cam believes, and I think that speaks volumes too, that Cam Lenhart was committed and then decommitted and then came back because he does believe in this coaching staff. But certainly impressive. You can see his highlights, had multiple offers in the Big Ten, across the country, 4-star, 21 tackles, 7 tackles for loss. So yeah, I mean his team in high school only allowed 32, just under 33 rushing yards per game and 96 passing yards per game. So he is a big part of setting the tone up front, and certainly a guy that, again, adding depth to that defensive line, which you never can have enough of, right?
That's exactly right. You know, and Cam, again, signed with the staff. They knew in December, but they didn't release his name because he wanted to do it on TV on ESPN. And I think there's a bonus for that, too. Absolutely. I think that's pretty cool. People that are watching go, okay, this kid's picking Nebraska. I think there's a nice little bump that you get out of that.
Absolutely. Always huge promotion, publicity for these guys when they can come on, and because everybody's watching that, right? There wasn't much going on that day, sports-wise.
Day.
And so people tuning in, and then you're seeing which hat are they going to take, who are they going to pick, and so they got the best of the best in high school football, and where are they going, who are they going to pick? And you had 2 guys pick Nebraska.
The second one we'll go to now, and that is Ethan Nation. This was a young guy who was really good as a receiver and a defensive back. Nebraska sees Ethan as a DB from down in that Atlanta area, Roswell, Georgia. He was also at that All-Star game. He also made the announcement on that night in early January that he was going to be a Cornhusker. Had nearly 100 tackles, 12 picks in his senior season. Terrific year for him down there at Roswell. Again, if you're into the stars, 4-star guy, chose Nebraska over Ohio State, Auburn, and Houston. Again, this is a guy, and when I also look at this group as a whole, not just Ethan, but there's a lot of DBs being added to this room as well.
We're watching him take it off, a handoff, and run it as a running back. So you can see his elite speed there. But yeah, this is a kid that everybody in the country wanted and developed a relationship with Evan Cooper, the new defensive backs coach. And he is certainly impressive and competitor. I asked Evan Cooper about him. He said he absolutely wants to compete, and I think will no doubt provide some depth in the secondary, which there's a lot of talent coming back from last year's team, but again, that competition breeds success, and he's going to come in here and want to compete.
So Ethan Nation in. Again, the staff knew about him in December, did not announce him in December, and waited to let him have his moment on TV. I think that's really, really valuable. All right, let's get to the guys, the 5 that inked today their letters of intent. We'll start with Demetrius Bell, wide receiver from Nashville, Tennessee, 6'1", 185. This was also a guy that played both ways in his high school secondary wide receiver, but he is really talented in the wide receiver room. Again, a 4-star guy, and my goodness, did he have an impressive list of suitors. Bama, Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss. This was a get that this staff was able to go out in late December and January, brought him on campus a few weeks ago. Now he's a Cornhusker.
I actually had a chance to chat with him when he was on campus, and he talked about kind of how he was a little bit late onto the recruiting scene because his high school wasn't necessarily seen, but it means a lot to him to have this kind of offer. I asked him, what did you like about Nebraska and the potential here? And one of the first things that he mentioned was Marcus Satterfield and getting to chat with him and what he believes in the offense that is going to be in place here. So, yeah, he's a playmaker, and, again, another one of those guys that wants to come in and compete, and speed. He has it.
He does. So we've given you an edge rusher, a DB, wide receiver, and now a defensive lineman. This is the latest, one of the latest additions to this Nebraska staff. We go out to California. Sua Lefotu is now a Cornhusker, 6'4", 300-pounder from St. John Bosco High School in Bellflower, California. This is a bit of a late bloomer. And again, this staff found him, brought him in, wanted to get another big body in this class. I know you've had a chance to talk to Sua, and now he signed mid-morning today from out in California.
He is impressive. I cannot wait for Husker fans to hear from him. You're going to love him. But yeah, he came from a powerhouse high school out there in California, so sat behind people, then had an injury, so again was a late bloomer onto the scene. But I was so impressed with this answer because one of the first things we heard from this coaching staff, from Coach Rhule, from his introductory press conference, was they believe in developing players, and they wanted to get guys in here and develop them throughout their 4 and 5 year career here. One of the first things that Sua said why he believed in Nebraska is he felt like he could come here and be developed as a player because he didn't play a lot in high school because of the injuries and waiting behind some people there in high school. He thinks his best football is ahead of him, and so he was looking for a place that could help him reach his full potential, and he absolutely believes this staff here at Nebraska is going to get him to that full potential. And he loves Tony White, loves Terrence Knighton, so it already has been able to develop relationships. And again, he is super impressive. Academics very important to him as well.
You're right about the injuries. Missed his entire sophomore season and was limited as a junior, and that's why a lot of people backed off of him because they didn't think they had enough tape on him. Nebraska, again, this staff, I think, looks through that. They try to find some other angle to go with the guy. So, and he was here, Jessica, this past weekend. So he was here over the weekend when it got really cold and committed to this staff on Sunday before he left town. So you talk about recruiting up to the final hour. This was what the case with Sua, and then the next gentleman we're going to talk about here in a moment. But that goes back to your point about when they get him on here, their hit percentage is really high.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just get them on campus, right? It seems to be you get them on campus, they commit. They've had just tremendous success once they get those guys to come on campus, fall in love with it. The overall feel, the family feel, the energy of the coaching staff, the new facility. That is another thing that's come up a lot in these interviews with these new recruits. They have mentioned the new building and the new facilities that they're going to be able to move into, really, I guess, coming up in, August?
The football staff wants to be in there before camp opens.
Yep.
So it better be late July for them to get in there.
So these kids that are coming in, they're going to be the first class that gets to utilize that for all their entire career.
And he'll be playing for Pot Roast. Terrence Knighton will be his position coach for the Cornhuskers.
I asked him if he likes pot roast. He said he's never had good pot roast. So somebody will have to hook him up with some good pot roast while he's here in Nebraska.
So he was one of the last additions to the class, along with this young guy, DeAndre Barnes, defensive back from the Denver area out in Colorado, 6', 175-pound DB. He was a great defensive back, also played wide receiver, and was a kick returner some for his high school out there in Aurora, Colorado. And in fact, this might be a highlight of him returning a kick here. As a senior, 37 passes caught, nearly 800 yards, 9 touchdowns for him. But Jessica, another one of those guys that you referenced earlier that's really good on the track. He was Colorado's big class 200-meter dash champion as a sophomore with a winning time under 22 seconds, which is just blistering fast. Finished third in the 100-meter dash as well. Had some offers from places like BYU, Air Force, Wyoming, among others. But again, speed is, I think, was what the staff saw on DeAndre Barnes.
That's impressive. I mean, how many of these kids are we welcoming in that have been a state champion in their track, right? And let's see if we can just go ahead and lock up the entire 4x4 relay team, right, for Nebraska track and field. But yeah, speed is absolutely it. And multi-sport athlete is a competitor and, is able to, that's just been really something that's been emphasized by this coaching staff. They love to see what these guys can do in other sports and have discovered a lot of guys, not by what they've done on the football field, but what they've done in other sports.
So Sua and DeAndre committed after visiting this past weekend for the Huskers. We'll go back a weekend before for our next commitment for the Huskers. In fact, they got a package deal with 2 young men from the Metroplex in Texas. Ishmael Smith Flores, we'll start with him. Tight end, 6'4", 230-pounder, went to that Arlington Martin High School, very successful high school program down there. His dad, oh boy, Iowa Hawkeye defensive lineman. So he left the nest of the Hawkeyes to become a Cornhuskers. In fact, his dad was terrific, a consensus All-American back in the early 90s. So you kind of wonder, is there going to be some friction at the household? But boy, this kid looks like he can play some football.
Look at those hands right there. I cannot wait for you guys. We're going to have an interview coming up from both these guys coming up here in just a minute. He did not play football until a year ago.
About that.
First time playing football. And so he's got a great perspective on Coach Wager and the offer that came from Nebraska. So I'll let them tell all of that. But yeah, the potential here, because he is so green. And so another one of those guys that you can develop, but also an area that I think we have talked a lot about, probably needed to find some depth, right, at that tight end spot. So they have addressed that with transfer and now here with Ismail. And he's got, his upside is just absolutely tremendous.
And Nebraska's got a nice story to tell about tight ends. You got Jack Stoll playing in the Super Bowl next week. Austin Allen has a chance to have a nice pro career, and obviously Travis Vokalek just finished up his eligibility for Nebraska. So,
go Eagles, by the way.
I know. Ishmael Smith Flores, I'm ignoring that comment. It was one guy from Arlington Martin. The other is his teammate, Jeremiah Charles, wide receiver, 6'2", 160-pounder. Another guy that only played 1 year of high school football. But Coach Wager, who's coming to Nebraska, thinks enough of him to say, I think this guy has a chance to be a player for us. A good basketball player. In fact, Coach Rhule went down and saw him play basketball and walked out there and go, yep, we're going to offer him.
Dropped 22 with Coach Rhule.
And 5 dunks.
In the gym. So, yeah, he was certainly impressive. But, yeah, just an absolute really good basketball player. Before I was waiting, he was on the call and we were waiting on Ismail. And so we were talking about their high school team has a chance to make a pretty deep run in the postseason as well. So really good basketball player, and thought originally that was going to be his future is playing collegiate football. But then got out on the football field, saw some potential there, and again is so excited for this opportunity here at Nebraska. And I let both those guys say what we can expect from each of them, so we'll let them describe what we can see from them out on the field. But speed, another one of those guys. That was one of the first things that Ismail said about Jeremiah was this guy can flat out run.
And guess what? Jeremiah's mom, track athlete at Texas A&M, so it goes in the family for him. All right, so that's the 5 high school young men who signed today with the Cornhuskers. And as Jessica referenced, you had a chance to talk to the 2 teammates.
Yeah, so it snowed in Texas. It was during a snow day, so had a chance to chat with both of them. They joined us yesterday here via Airlink. Well, we welcome in 2 of the newest Huskers and 2 high school teammates that will now be teammates here at Nebraska. Jeremiah Charles and Ismail Smith Flores out of Arlington Martin High School in Texas. Guys, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Well,
thank you for having us.
Well, how excited are you guys to be a Husker? Jeremiah, how excited are you?
I'm so excited. I'm ready to get out there and ready to work.
Awesome. How about you, Ismail?
I'm geek, man. I love Nebraska.
Well, take me through the recruiting process for both of you. And Ismail, we'll start with you this time. How it all came about and how you fell in love with Nebraska.
Well, I mean, my recruiting, it kind of picked up real early into the season. I think it was in week 4 when I got my first offer. So after that, I pretty much took off. And then after the first signing day, that's when everything just went really crazy. I think I picked up 6 or 7 more divisional offers during that time. At one point, I picked up 3 in one day. So, I mean, it was going crazy. And then, I got the call. I was in New Jersey, actually, for a visit. And Coach Rager told me, he's like, I just want to let you know I'm extending my first offer to you. So after that, I mean, I pretty much knew it was a done deal at that point. But, I still had to go up there, take a visit and all that. And once I did, it felt like home immediately.
That's awesome. How about you, Jeremiah? Because yours happened pretty quickly, right?
Yes, ma'am. Mine's like 3 weeks ago. He seen me at a basketball game, see how athletic I was. Coach Rhule, not even Coach Rager was there, but Coach Rhule was impressed of how good I did at the basketball game, how athletic and how energetic I was on the court. So that was my first D1 offer. And then right after that, I got UNT, but they were playing with me, really. But that's about it.
You dropped 22 with Coach Rhule in attendance, right? Did you know he was there? Was it a little extra motivation?
Yes, ma'am. I told Coach Rager that game was for him before the game even started because he was my head coach. I didn't get to say bye to him before he left to Nebraska. So, yeah.
I mean, both of you guys are basketball players, I know. How cool is that? How great is that this coaching staff, they want athletes and they want dual sport athletes. That's how a lot of times they're seeing guys is what they're doing in other sports, whether it be on the basketball court or on the track. How awesome is that as someone that plays multiple sports, and especially you guys both picked it up late, that they still believe in guys even though you haven't played football all your lives?
Oh, that's amazing for me because I got to show how athletic I am, and the opportunity was there, so I took it. I played good. And got the scholarship off of it.
And what about for you, Ismail, that this is a staff that wants to guys that are doing other sports that, see athleticism and believe in that and your potential, not just necessarily only on a football field?
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's really just a testament to them. They know what they can do. They're really good at developing players. So that's just showing what they can do right there. If you're an athlete, they can bring you in, they can work with you and make it happen.
So did I read right that both of you guys, last year was your first year officially playing high school football for both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So take me through, why did you start playing football? Ismail, we'll start with you. And, I mean, why did you, first of all, get on the football field in the first place and then decide that football would be your future?
So pretty much I had always wanted to play football my whole life. Everybody in my family plays football. But my dad, he kind of made me shy away from it because of, when I was growing up, that's when the whole concussion stuff was coming out and how, how much it can affect you. So my dad pretty much was like, nah, we're going to keep you away from that. We're going to let you just play basketball. And I was pretty good. So it didn't really matter. But, in high school, I was told him, I was like, look, my senior year, you got to let me play at least, one time in my life, because I always wanted to play. And then he just gave in, he let me play, and then, the rest is history.
And Jeremiah, how'd you get into football and why was that your future?
I love basketball. It's just I wanted to try something different for my last year because basketball wasn't looking too good for me. I was barely getting recruited, so tried football out. And I really played football just because of my teammates and my coaches. They always been asking me to play football. So I finally just took a chance on it and fell in love with it. And that's about it.
And what about you, Ismail? You played before, right? Just not not organized football in high school?
No, I've never played before in my life. So
what? You never played before you stepped on the field?
Nah, not at all. Never.
So what clicked for you then?
Honestly, I think it was just the coaches. Coach Cagle, he got me right. And they all knew it was a work in progress. I came out there very, very, very not good, put it like that. So, but, they could work with me. I've always been a good athlete. So, it's pretty much just running, catching, stuff like that. And, the nuances of the game I'm still learning. But Coach Cagle did a great job. Coach Reed did a good job. And, obviously Coach Rager did his thing. So, it's just all the coaches, they put me in a position just to be successful.
Okay, so let's have some fun here. I want each of you to describe the other one out on the football field. So, Ismail, you describe Jeremiah. Jeremiah, you describe Ismail. And we'll go with you, Ismail, first.
A dog, man. he a dog on that field. That's for sure.
So what can Husker fans expect from him?
Man, I mean, he gonna work hard. You know what I'm saying? That's obviously big, but also like I've never seen a dude with his type of speed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you watch him run, look at his stride. You know, he's a world class track athlete. So I mean, y'all gonna see. I mean, he's crazy athletic, dummy bounce. I mean, he's a great athlete, man.
And Jeremiah, now your turn.
6'6", just a big body out there, just topping kids, like just showing his athleticism, showing his hops. As soon as he gets the ball and he's in stride, you're not catching him. He doesn't look very fast, but he runs really smooth. Hard to take down, good hands. That's about it.
How much did you guys go into it wanting to play together in college? Did that have any effect on it, or just so happened that Coach Wager knew both of you and offered you both, or how exciting is it that you get to play together in college now?
That's great, honestly. I feel like we got the same amount of experience, so we're going into it like with each other, not just by ourselves trying to figure it out.
Yeah, man, I'm ecstatic. You know, this is my guy. This is like my brother, yo. You know, we've known each other since we've been in middle school. You know, been playing sports together this whole time. So I mean, it's great. You know what I mean? Especially since, you know, college is hard, you know, going in and not knowing people. So it makes it that much easier to go in with one of my best friends.
How special was it to get the call and the offer from Coach Wager, Ismael? Because you talked about, you know, you'd gotten a bunch of offers, but for Coach Wager, a guy that, you know, welcomed you into the high school football program, gave you an opportunity there, worked with you there, and then for him to call you and offer you with an offer here at Nebraska, how cool was that?
I mean, it was great. And I'll tell you a little story about it. So it was crazy because that day I had just got back from my uncle's funeral, right? You know, and it's crazy because my uncle, you know, he always talked to me after every game. He talked to me all the time. And, you know, he always told me growing up he was going to be my agent. You know what I'm saying? So it was weird because we just got done with his funeral. We got back to the house and I get a call from Coach Wager, and then he offered. So it was almost like he was sending me that offer. You feel me? That's the way I like to look at it. So, I mean, I was just blessed. You know, it's a blessing. You know, I really believe that that's how it went down. I believe my aunt, you know what I'm saying, sent that down for me, and that was the place that I was meant to go. So it all worked out.
Wow, that's super special. Well, for you guys that you have experience with Coach Wager, so again, for Husker fans that are hearing about him for the first time, Jeremiah, explain what he's like coaching-wise. What kind of coach is coming here to Nebraska in Coach Wager?
Coach, he's very energetic when it comes to game day. He wants to lock in. He wants to win every game. He wants details. He wants you detail by detail to do every step on the field correctly. He cares about character a lot, like off the field. And really passionate about the sport.
Ismael, what makes him such a great coach?
I mean, he's a winner. You know, he knows how to win. He turned our program around. You know, I think he was there for 17 years, and when he got there, Martin wasn't known as a anything really. So, and then he turned it into a powerhouse throughout the whole state of Texas. So, I mean, he's a winner, but I think it all just starts with relationships. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care if you're a 0-star with no offers, nobody looking at you, or you're a 5-star, you know what I'm saying, All-American, all that. I mean, he's going to treat you the same. You know, everybody got the same set of rules and set of things that you got to do, you know what I'm saying? And if you do them, you're going to be successful.
What did you love about Nebraska when you came here?
The atmosphere, the hospitality of all the people there. They're all good energy people. They're all really happy to see you there and congratulating me and stuff like that. The coaching staff is real nice. And really the facilities too. The facilities look good.
There's this thing called Nebraska nice. It's a real thing. People here are actually that nice. What excites you the most about being a Husker?
Definitely the fans. You know what I'm saying? One thing I learned quick is the fans are crazy, man. They're real passionate. You know, that's all they got in Nebraska is the University of Nebraska. So they're all diehards, this and that. You know, I've had people, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. My girlfriend, her family lives in Nebraska. They had sent me a video. I was on a little news station up there. I'm like, it's crazy. You know, you don't realize how big of a deal it is for them up there. But I mean, they really love you. And then obviously, you know, on social media and stuff like that, they're showing a lot of love. So, I mean, I just want to be able to get up there and just produce for the fans and turn the program back around where it needs to be.
Pretty much the same thing is said. The fans do go crazy. I do want to just satisfy the fans. I also want to come in there and turn the program around as well. That's about it.
That's awesome. Well, have they talked to you at all? Ismail, you played wide receiver in high school, right? You're going to move more to a tight end. What kind of role do you expect to play for this offense?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, the way they're looking at me right now, Coach Satterfield, Coach Weger, is more like a flex tight end, someone who can pretty much move all around the field, be in the backfield a little bit for my hand in the dirt, and then obviously get out wide, play some of the wide receivers. So, pretty much being able to do everything and just create mismatches all throughout the field.
And Jeremiah, I expect to come right in and compete for a spot of making some plays there in this offense?
Yes, ma'am.
So speed, right? That's going to outrun those defensive backs?
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. Well, okay, here is the hardest question of the day. Who would win on one-on-one between you two?
And what?
Me.
In football, I'm mounting them up. In basketball, I'm doing them bad.
Okay, if we talking about basketball, it's got to be me. Football,
it's got to be me.
Because that's going to be hard. But basketball, it's got to be me right there.
So you're both claiming to win in basketball?
Yes, for sure I'm going to win.
We might have to arrange that at some point. Well, guys, appreciate your time. Congratulations. Excited to have you here in Lincoln. Can't wait to get you here on campus.
Yes, ma'am. Can't wait to be there.
Excited.
All right. You guys enjoy the snow down there in Texas. And get used to it because you'll have some here in Nebraska.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You guys have a good one. Thanks again.
You too.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, that was such a fun conversation. How neat, though, that they get to be high school teammates and then come here together and go through all of this together. And they were great to talk to. Had me cracking up. We were talking before we started recording and after we started recording. But how about neither one of them wanting to answer or both saying that they would win one-on-one, a one-on-one battle?
Gotta have confidence.
Greg, I got no issue saying I would beat you in one-on-one.
Yeah. That's debatable right there. We are keeping an eye on the press conference. We're leading you right up to Coach Rhule's press conference. He has not entered the room yet. We'll get to it right when he does. We also have a couple of videos to show you on some of the transfers that have decided to become Cornhuskers. In fact, they're already here. They're going through winter conditioning. They'll be going through spring ball as well. Let's start with Ben Scott, offensive lineman, originally from Honolulu, Hawaii. He's played the last several years with Arizona State and a longtime starter for the Sun Devils. Jessica, he has started at right tackle, left tackle, and all of last year at center. And with the departure of Trent Hickson after graduating, there's a need at center for Nebraska.
There's need for depth from top to bottom, right, in the offensive line room. I mean, I think we saw that last year, and so just getting bodies in that room, but also experienced bodies. In the first signing day, a lot of offensive line recruits out of high school that will be coming in that I know this Coach Rhule is really excited to get his hands on, but this is a guy that's experienced, going to be able to come right in and provide some depth and be somebody that they can call on right away to play on this offensive line. So never can have enough bodies. They're right there in the offensive line, and I know, again, a huge get for this offense and for this team to be able to haul in Ben Scott to add depth in that offensive line room.
Another one of the transfer portal additions, a wide receiver from Virginia, Billy Kemp, 5'9", 175, who reminds some Husker fans probably of like a J.D. Spielman body type. Battled injuries this past fall for the Hoos, but he was really good. His true freshman season, he played in 8 games, had 3 punt returns in that season, 13 catches. So this is a guy that's got the ability to do some good things. So Billy Kemp, another one of the transfers. Again, 11 transfer portal additions for Nebraska. To put that in perspective, some people think it's a lot. Last year, the number grew to 16, so 11 not quite up to what last year was. But Billy Kemp, explosive, coming off of an injury, wanted to change this year, and so now he's going to become a Cornhusker. In his history time, he caught 192 passes at Virginia for 1,700 yards. So a nice addition to the wide receiving room, and Billy Kemp.
It's a big group. I like the group, though. 39
kids. A lot of new names to learn for all of us, Husker fans, and for Jessica and I as well. I believe the coach is getting off the elevator, about to walk into the media room on 6th floor in the press box here at Memorial Stadium. Again, I'm anxious. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, he's had some new additions to his staff. There's a new setup to the room, too. If you're watching on the stream and you're typically a viewer of these press conferences, the media have been set up. The chairs are a different setup up there, so a little different look here today, too.
Yep, a little bit of a fan look right in front of him instead of having chairs on both sides of the room. But yeah, December 21st, the last time that he met with the media. So here we are, February the 1st, chance for him to catch up. This could be fairly lengthy. We hope you enjoy this. We hope you enjoy the last 30 minutes as we've rolled our way through these signees. 5 of them today, 2 additional high school players that weren't announced in December, and at least a little sampling of some of the transfer portal guys with Ben Scott and Billy Kemp part of this as well. We'll have a lot more coverage of all this tonight, including a recap of Coach Rhule's press conference on Sports Nightly on the Huskers Radio Network, so we hope you tune in tonight at your favorite Husker Radio Network affiliate. Should be a big day. I'm anxious to hear some of the questioning from some of these reporters today. We've been hearing periodically through January from some of the new assistant coaches. Coach Foley had them in stitches the other day at his little press gathering, along with Pot Rose, Terrence Knight, and still haven't heard from the entire group, but I think we will as we move into February. Spring ball will not start until mid-March, so still a ways for them to go as well. The coach is now entering the room, so let's take you up to 6th floor, West Stadium, and hear from the new head football coach, the Cornhuskers, Matt Rhule.
So we'll get started. Coach will make a few comments and then open it up for questions.
I'll make a deal with you. I will answer. No, are the cameras on? The cameras are on. I can't. I was going to say, I'll make a deal with you guys. Would be way better, but. All right, Ryan. I was going to say, I'll make a deal with you that if you guys don't film me walking in and walking out, I'll answer. I won't give you coach speak for the first 3 questions. Is that fair? All right, so I just got a brief opening statement. Hope that's okay. First of all, just want to make sure that we honor and celebrate National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. A great Huskers event today that my wife came in for, and it's really one of the great things about being here is just the opportunity to see other sports. You don't get that in the National Football League, and elite match last week, watching our women's tennis team play. And so I look forward to being a part of the campus community and watching with my son and my 2 daughters and my wife all the women athletes here on campus as they excel in their craft. And so a great day to support Title IX and all that it's done for athletics. I'm obviously excited today to support a Black History Month, the beginning of Black History Month, and obviously support that within our team as well as on campus. Want to wish the best of luck to the 4 players, the 4 former Huskers that are going to play in the Super Bowl. I had a chance to text back and forth with Ndamukong Suh the other day, Cam Jurgens, Jack Stoll, and DiCaprio Boodle in Kansas City. So excited for those guys. Probably a dream come true. And finally, I tweeted it out yesterday, but really honored that Coach Osborne has agreed to be the keynote speaker at our spring clinic. Just having a chance to visit with him a few times, the amount of football that he's willing to give up to people will be amazing. So it'll be a great clinic. And finally, I just want to just say it's been a privilege getting to know this team. Really, really cool guys on this team. Change is always hard. A new coach is always really, really hard, right? There's this period of, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that, man? But I'm really proud of the way that they're working. They're working really hard, both on the field and off the field. A couple of things I want to highlight from the fall, and this is a credit to Dennis and Andrea and the previous coaching staff, but most importantly, the players. Our fall cumulative GPA for the guys that are returning was 3.124. I think anytime you have a football team that's over a 3.0 GPA, you have a really good culture. 61 of the 98 returning players were a 3.0 or better in the fall. 32 of those guys got a 3.4. 58 Nebraska football players were named to the fall academic All Big Ten team. In November, the Nebraska football NCAA graduation success rate was reported at 92%, which is the highest in school history. So I think Dennis LeBlanc and his team, they do a fantastic job, and our players are committed to excellence, both on and off the field. So with that, I'll answer your guys' questions.
Can you breathe now a little bit?
After saying that, or from
just the past 2 months, everything you've been through, adding the number of players you guys have added, hiring coaches, can you kind of finally focus on the team here in Lincoln?
Yeah, well, that part, because there's not going to be any breathing. We're in a sprint, right? Coach Paterno used to always tell us to run scared, and we're going to sprint. We're not taking a break. Now the focus is just purely on the guys that are here, and as I said, there's a lot of winners on this team. There's a lot of guys that I need to do a great evaluation on to help them be the most successful they can be. Hey, should I play this position or that? What should I do? I gave the coaches a couple days off here, but I'm here right now. I'll be here all week, and from here on out, we're working on 2024s, we're working on 2025s, but most importantly, to your point, working on this team and getting ourselves ready to be in a good place for spring ball.
The game of college football changed while you were in the NFL with the transfers. What's your opinion of the portal now that you've been through it? 2 months or whatever.
I think the transfer portal is a great thing for young people to control their destiny. Like many other modalities, it gets ruined sometimes by adults. I think more players are probably told to transfer than actually decide they want to transfer. But if a kid's not in the right spot, he should have a chance to leave and have a chance to play right away. I don't like tampering that can sometimes go on where a kid's happy and people are coming in. I'm afraid when the COVID 6 year is over, the impact of it on kids' academics. Sometimes they're 15 credits away one place and they leave and the new school says yet, and then now all of a sudden they're 50. But that being said, it's been good to us. We don't want to be the hugest transfer team. We want to recruit high school student athletes. We want to watch them develop over 4 or 5 years. But if someone's somewhere else and they really love Nebraska and think this is the right place for them, then I want them to be here. And if a young person really wants to get on the field and they don't think they can get on the field for us and they have a chance to want to go somewhere else, I want to support them in that. So I'm very kind of student athlete centric. I want each kid to do what's right for them. I don't want them to run away from adversity, but I want them to make a great decision about their future when the time comes.
Matt, we saw the work that your staff did in putting this class together and the transfers together, and even heard from Coach Knighton the other day about the competitive spirit within the staff to want to outwork another position group. How do you go about following that environment that allows for those guys to compete not just with other schools but with each other?
Yeah, I didn't really love it when he said that, to be honest with you. To me, great teams are built on two things: relationships and standards. And so we have a standard. The standard is to work really, really hard. So I know what he means by I don't want competitive where it's like, hey, I want to sign more guys than you, because that leads to bad teams. That leads to coaches taking guys as favors. Everybody that we bring in is brought in by the entire staff. That being said, I do like the fact that we're still old school, where a lot of teams are flying in somewhere and they'll go see 3 or 4 schools in that area. We're going to go try to affect high schools. We're going to go see 8, 9, 10 high schools. Marcus Satterfield was in Denver working on 2024s in Colorado, and as he was kind of driving by a school and it wasn't on his list, so he called the coach, said, hey, can I come in? And as he's talking to the coach says, hey, listen, I got this kid that's under the radar that no one really knows about. And I think some people are recruiting him, but I think we're missing out on him. And, he signed today. DeAndre signed today. And, he hits all the metrics that we look for. He's, 10'6". He's smart. He's big. And so, to me, the reason why you go out and see as many schools as you do is so that when people do have a transfer, when they do have an under-the-radar guy, they pick up the phone and call the University of Nebraska because they know that they have relationships with the coaches.
Yeah, you got a good taste of it leading up to the early signing period, but is there anything that kind of opened your eyes or maybe reaffirmed your notion going through this thing the full couple months now about Nebraska and the position that you hold?
Yeah, Nebraska, we should recruit well. We will always probably appeal to a certain mindset. It has to be someone who really likes football, has to be someone who also wants to go to school, has to be someone that wants to be developed on and off the field. It has to be someone who likes to work. But the brand itself, the fan base, the town, the city of Lincoln, and the facilities, I think a lot of those things are unparalleled. They're unmatched. And so, we should absolutely recruit well every year.
Matt, how do you feel about where your scholarship numbers are at, just overall, and also position-wise? Are there any spots where you feel like you still have spaces to fill, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm very hesitant to talk about positions where we have spaces to fill. Sometimes I hear people talk. I think we all have to be very careful about talking about, well, they're really bad at this position, because these kids are still 18 to 22. They're not NFL players, right? So they're developing. So I can't comment on positions yet. Because I haven't coached them. I think after the spring, like I said, I think there's probably a lot of guys. I have 2 guys that played for me in college that are playing in the Super Bowl. Hassan Reddick, and he's gonna play edge, what they call edge now, outside backer, DN. He didn't come to college as an outside backer. I have Sean Bradley, who unfortunately is on IR right now, but he's a linebacker. He wasn't a linebacker in high school. So some of the real magic that I think good staffs do is they find the right position for players. Like, hey, you know what? You're a good DN, but I think you could be a great tackle. You're a good outside backer. I think you could be a great fullback maybe. So I think that's part of our magic. In terms of scholarship numbers at positions, we're still not where I would want to be on the O-line. I'd like to always be at 16 scholarship offensive linemen. Watching some of the non-scholarship O-linemen move, they look like scholarship O-linemen at places I've been. I haven't seen them play, so I have to watch. But that's one area probably to me. We're probably, obviously we're over on scholarships right now. There's so many new rules now that allow you to do some things to get there. So we'll work on that as we go. We've kind of remade the team, and I think the team that's here, they're remaking themselves in the weight room right now. A lot of guys look significantly different to me just after a couple weeks.
Hey, Matt, are all 11 transfers here for you guys?
There's no one that's not here. So is there someone you're thinking of?
I just wanted to make sure that all 11
everyone's here.
were
Yeah, everyone's here. Yes,
and then you took 3 from Georgia, and you've got the connection to Fran Brown there. I mean, how much did that help you kind of get some insight on some of the young men you brought in from Georgia? And did you anticipate getting 3 Georgia Bulldogs from the portal like the way it played out?
Yeah, not really. Obviously they played till late, so they had a limited window because those guys all went into the portal after, except for Eric, after it was over with. But yeah, Fran. As I get older, guys who've coached for me now go on. Fran was, a GA, then a position coach, and now he's really one of the top assistants in the country. Should be a head coach, and will be a head coach. And, as guys were going in, hey, coach, this is a guy that fits you. He kind of knows how I am, the way I want to do things, the process that we'll want to have, the character of the guys that we want, the work ethic. So he was able to tell me about them and then also tell them about us and what we're doing here and then kind of let us recruit from there. A guy like Eric, Jake Peets, who I worked with, was a Nebraska alum. He had him at LSU, or had gotten there as he was leaving LSU. So even guys that had played with some of these guys who I coached in the NFL were able to kind of speak on them. So I think a big thing is as you bring transfers in is why are they transferring? Why do they want to be here? And I think all those guys, to me, they're really good players and they have a chance to help us. But they also have the right mindset to play, at Nebraska.
Now that the class is all set, what do you like about it? And what comes to mind first when you assess it in totality?
Yeah, I think we just got, not kind of like as you're out there in the world and people say, oh, Nebraska, can you can find big, strong guys. Can you find speed? Like just in state, you're not going to find anybody faster than Malachi and Jalen. The speed's there. Bryce Turner's as fast a kid as there is in the country. So I like that part of it. But I like each player for who they are. I like the, I first got here, I think the previous staff did a really good job with the big guys, the O-linemen. And then you guys kind of know I'm going to kind of be numbers based. Like when I don't know, I do know that track times and triple jumps and 40-yard dashes, that doesn't mean you're a great football player. But when I'm not sure, those things guide you, right? They're just a rock that you can kind of lean on. And so when I see a kid who's a 47-foot triple jumper and likes football, I'm going to take a chance on him. And so if they have the right mental, and so I like some of those things that we were able to bring in. Had a lot of success over the years bringing guys in who are fast and finding the right position. And so for us to increase our team speed, I'm not saying the previous team was slow, but just to bring in that level of speed to me is really important. And then we brought in some size and, O-linemen, you have to grow them. It takes a little time with them. They have to get in the weight room. But I like the group that we brought in.
Hey, Matt, based on what you said a moment ago, it might still be a little too early to ask that question, but Trev, like 3-4 weeks ago, was talking about how important it is for this program to play complementary football. And I'm curious, based on the personnel guys you have in the locker room now, how does the personnel fit what Tony wants to do on defense? How does that fit the offense wants to do and vice versa?
Yeah, my goal is to hire coordinators who are smart enough to utilize their best players. I'll make them every year. I make them really every spring, every fall. I make them rank the playmakers, make them rank the guys on defense who can affect the ball, and build an offense and a defense that can put those guys on the field. So, when we say, well, Marcus is what I liked about what Marcus did last year at the end of the year at South Carolina was everyone was injured. He was playing with 4 tight ends, and the tight end might be taking a speed sweep. He might be lining up a wideout. He used who he had. So I think we'll find that there's enough talent to go out there and play complementary football. I think the biggest thing is when you say complementary football, to me it's teaching the game. Like lots of people teach X's and O's. They teach their offense. They teach their defense. Teaching the game really matters. Great defenses to me. When the other team scores, when our team scores, they answer a score with a stop. And so when we start realizing like bad teams, like they're not connected, the defense is yelling at the offense is yelling at the defense. When we understand field position. We understand the kicking. You want to see a bad team? A team that has, and I was a walk-on, and I'm all for walk-ons playing on special teams, but when there's only walk-ons on special teams, it means that they don't understand, the scholarship guys or the starters don't understand, hey, I should affect the game. You know, Hassan Reddick was a first-round draft pick, and he was running down on punt. You know, I know Ed shared that with you guys the other day. Like, guys should want to affect the game. And so we want them to understand what the offense does, even if they get, 2 first downs and have to punt the ball. And we have a great punt team, and they have a 42-yard net. That then lets our defense play better football. And so that teaching of the game, that teaching of the clock management, like there's a time to play fast, there's a time to play slow. There's certain times of the game where we really have to understand, the middle 8, which is the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 of the second half, the last 5 minutes of the game. So we want to teach them the game. And so when they watch the game, they're not just watching, oh, so-and-so made a play, oh, so-and-so made a play. It's more about the little things that happen to allow us to have big moments. I hope you see a team next year when you watch us play, when a guy has a long run, he's not pointing at the crowd, he's pointing at his own lineman. I hope you see us next year when a guy has a sack, he's not sitting there. I mean, I want him to throw the bones and all that, but then he better turn around to the DBs who covered everybody. So that's complimentary football to me. And it's not me. It's I'm able to do what I can do because of the guys around me. So we'll try to do that. I know you're asking about the roster. I just don't know yet. I feel really good about the way areas we're heading, but it's a long, slow process.
You take 39 new faces and blend them with guys that you probably don't know that well yet because you've only been here 2 months. How do you learn everybody in such a short, compressed amount of time?
They all have their names on the back of their T-shirts. That's number one. Literally, in today's society, teaching, I literally had to say to the guys, hey, guys, do me a favor. When you guys walk up and say hello, for the first couple weeks, just introduce yourself again. Like, I'm meeting 120 new players. There's one of me, there's 120 of you. And I just think being around guys, being around each other, we divided our team up into competition teams the very first Sunday. Not O-line, D-line, but, just everybody getting to know everybody. Because we don't want them to see each other in terms of offense, defense, freshman, senior, walk-on scholarship. They're all people. And all people have dreams and all people have fears and just get to know each other. So I think when you have that kind of holistic approach, when you have the same standards for everybody, like the best players in our program don't get the perks. The guys who work the hardest to get if there's any perks, they get them. And then, just try to be around, right? Like as coaches, the more we're around the guys, the more we get to know each other. There's no more, the guys aren't taking their food in the cafeteria and leaving anymore. We sit down, we eat, coaches, they go in, they sit down with the players. We're gonna build, something where we all know each other.
Who you lean on to kind of help with that culture piece? I'm sure it's everybody, but who are the people that you've really kind of gone to, and who came up with that idea about the cafeteria?
No, we've done that everywhere we've been. Yeah, it's just most places you go, guys are kind of always in a rush. They're always on their phone. They're always so we just kind of come up with some standards that what do they have to do with winning? Nothing, but everything. It's like if you're willing to sacrifice a little of yourself for the team every day, you have a chance to have a good team. I think we count on everyone to do that. There's some guys on our roster, Corey, obviously in the weight room, and his staff. They are around the players way more than we are. I tell them, hey, the academic area and the locker room are extensions of the weight room. So go be present, walk through there. Our recruiting guys, they do such a good job building relationships. And when the guys get there, a lot of places, they kind of forget about them. Well, no, we continue to want to be around those guys. We try to do at least one thing a week that's kind of team building-ish. It's not mandatory, but, hey, Madden tournament, hey, whatever, just get them around each other. And then, I have 14, I think right now the number's at 14 former players of mine in some role within the organization, whether it's weight room, recruiting, and that's Western Carolina, that's Temple as an assistant, Temple as the head coach, Baylor, and then a couple of Carolina Panthers. So having guys that can explain when the players are like, what's wrong with Coach Rhule? This is what's wrong with him. This is what he really means. It's really vital.
What do you see in terms of ability with Eric Gilbert, and what are your hopes for him athletically and personally to be able to thrive in this program?
Yeah, I just think, he's as talented a player as there is. Okay, so he's a player. What we want to do is, like with all of our players, I want him in 10 years to say his life is better for having played for us at Nebraska, right? That's all I care about with all these guys. So what that means for him, I'm just getting to know him. I want him to have elite success in the classroom. I want him to go be involved in the community. I want him to have great relationships, and I want him to go play well in football. If Eric gets on the field for us. The football for him comes naturally, but we're going to push him to be the best that he can be. And so I think there's a lot of talent there. But with a lot of these guys, there's a lot of talent. You know, so we just have to harness it and help them develop it, get them on the field, get them to trust us, and then turn them loose.
You mentioned Corey Campbell earlier. What made him the right man for that job?
Oh, I mean, Corey's elite since the day I first met him at Baylor. You know, he's unbelievably demanding. But people, you know, players either sometimes they either feel like you're for them or against them. He can hold you really, really accountable, and they still know he's for them. But he's also really knowledgeable, right? He understands all the science of what he does in the weight room. I mean, I want us to be a place that, guys, that's on the cutting edge of everything, sports science-wise, player development-wise, recovery-wise. That's what this new building, the Go Big project, is going to allow us to do. But the people have to match the functionality, right? And so Corey has that. And he built a staff of guys. Like, you know, we have a physical therapist as part of our weight room staff. You know, so we have, you know, one of the greatest gifts we can give our players is health. We have the right knowledge base. Because I don't know anything about the weight room. I don't know anything about periodization. So I need people that are experts that I can trust who also have my mindset about culture and about development. And Corey has all of that. Corey's another former walk-on my staff, too. There's a bunch of us that had to fight our way for everything. Sorry, Amy.
Sorry for cutting you off. With all of the assistants that we've gotten the chance to know so far, the word that keeps coming up with them is how this staff is like a family. How does that manifest from your perspective?
Well, I thought I saw what Ed said. I try to listen to the coaches' press conferences. So sometimes we make fun of them for something they said, or B, but Ed, who no one's ever loved the press conference more than Ed. Let me just say that, okay? But Ed, I thought when he talked about family the other day and about being at Adam's wedding and about the funeral, you know, former player and former assistant that passed away for us, I actually screenshotted that and I sent it out to the whole staff. Because there's so many of us that have been together for such a long time and some of us, like Philip, I saw Philip 10 years ago. I haven't seen him in 10 years, right? But there's these connections, and I also hired a defensive coordinator I never worked with. You know, it's not like I'm just hiring people I know. Like, I want everyone in our organization, on our staff, to understand that family is, you know, for us, family is not blood. It's the decisions we make every day to protect each other and to push each other and to advocate for each other. And so it could be little things. It's Terrence Knighton's son, Jameer, has his first 8th grade basketball game, and I show up to cheer him on, right? Because, like, I want him to know, hey, Jameer, thank you for moving across the country. Like, the impact of this is an unbelievable opportunity, but the sacrifice of our spouses and the sacrifice of our kids is, my kids just moved 3 years ago, and now they got to turn around and move again. And even though they're coming to a wonderful place, it's still hard on kids. So when my coaches see my kids and they hug them like they're their own, A, I think that has a great impact on our players, but B, we become like family. And so I really mean it when I say that I want our players to say their lives are better for having been there, but I also want all the coaches who coach for me to say the same thing. Like, you know what, working for Coach Rhule was working for Matt was a great time in my life, and my life is better for that. And that includes their families too. So we work really hard. We're really honest with each other. It's not easy. The camera's killing me. Sorry. It's not easy to work here. The standards are high. Like, you guys have done a really nice job making a big deal about Ed going around. And I think Ed's doing what we've always done. Like, going to 8 schools a day in the state of Nebraska is the bare minimum. We're not doing something special. We're not like, oh, wow, look how hard they work. We're just doing our jobs. We're showing up and doing our jobs. Stopping at a high school and them having a cup of coffee, and the special education, special needs students are giving away coffee and taking a picture with them, that's called being hardworking. And the people of Nebraska work way harder than us. That I know. I've been to some small towns. I've been to the cities now. I've seen people in the state. You guys work hard. So we're not going to celebrate ourselves for working hard. We're going to celebrate ourselves for having a purpose where we're trying to help young people have better lives. That's really what's important. The working hard is because we want to win too.
Expanding on that value of family, how are you taking your family aspect as a staff and carrying it over into the community, both with Nebraska athletics and Lincoln, Omaha area too? Well,
Nebraska athletics is just getting around the student athletes, right? So I'm sitting in the lunchroom the other day, and Omar's talking to a couple of the young ladies on the women's tennis team, and I'm talking to them, and a couple of football players are sitting with us, and I believe her name's Sam. She's a senior from Miami. She's like, we're playing today at 4. You guys coming? Yep. So we went and watched them. Now, first of all, I love college tennis. It's one of the great things. I mean, it's one of the great sports to go watch because there's a lot of action going on. But I think there was 27 football players there. There's the coaches are there. Trev is there. And we're supporting. You know what I mean? It's way easier to play when you got, coaches screaming let's go FISA. Let's play better. So, we just, we're not going to take ourselves too seriously. We're not celebrities. We're coaches, right? We coach a game, just a game, all right? And so we're going to be there to support the other student athletes. We're going to be there to support the students on campus. Any way that we can help within the community, we're going to do it. Not because it's our job, but because that's what good people do. And there's a lot of other good people that just Twitter doesn't recognize them, that do way more than we do.
What do you hope your quarterbacks accomplish before spring camp? You didn't lose any of them.
Yeah.
They're all back.
Right.
That's a lot of them.
Right.
And so what are you kind of hoping to see from them as leaders and as culture developers when there's so many of them and there's so many players to get to know?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm trying to teach the team, because sometimes we can always be very outcome based. Like, I want to go to a bowl game next year. And it's like, just worry about today. The other thing is, I'll worry about the team, and I'm going to worry about these guys. Just if everybody just gets 1% better every day, if the best way to improve the team is to improve yourself. So that model, hey, just improve yourself, and then other people will follow you. So if quarterbacks are going to have voluntary throwing on their own, and they show up 5 minutes early and they're prepared, and then that will have an impact on everybody else. What we don't need is a bunch of guys we don't need every highlight video with people talking, right? We just need people doing. Christian McCaffrey said something to me great one time. He said, we just need to play loud. Everyone wants to talk, just play loud. And so the quarterbacks, to me, they can just be serious about themselves, academically, athletically, and in the community. They can be the same guy when the coaches aren't around as when the coaches are around. And that sends a real message to the team. And then, you know what, when they know everybody's name on the team and they know the people that work in the cafeteria's names, and then they become someone that people want to follow. And so I like the group. We have a couple guys that won't be able to do spring because of their shoulders, right? Logan and Casey won't be able to do that. There'll be a time here soon where we'll start working on football. They've got to learn a lot of X's and O's and a lot of different things. But right now I just want them working on themselves. And invariably, they have enough charisma that people will follow them.
One or two more. Since the last time we talked to you, Xavier Betts and Isaiah Garcia Castaneda were added to the roster. What made you feel good about that after you were talking about it?
Yeah, they didn't go in the transfer portal on me. They had done that before, so I had no real issue with that. Like I said, I'm going to take everything on a case-by-case basis. Jeff Nixon, who worked with me, was a high school teammate of mine, worked with me, and his son played on the team, called me about Xavier. I didn't know who Xavier was. And so I talked, I just met with him. I love Xavier Betts. And I don't love Xavier Betts because of who he is as on the football field, because that's what's wrong when people think you only love him. I love who he is as a person. I like getting to know him. I like that, I appreciate, he texted me happy birthday yesterday. Okay, that means something to me. So I like who he is as a guy. I'm rooting for him. I'm anxious to see him kind of get back on the football field and do well in the classroom. So I'm anxious to not just give him a chance, but to be an advocate for him. My son's 18. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his life. I want him to go places where they has people who, they don't entitle him, they don't enable him, but they advocate for him. So we'll do that for Xavier. And then, Isaiah, he just reached out, and I was like, yeah, let's give him a chance. Give everybody a chance, and then go through the spring, and then people are going to see the standards and how we do things, and they'll either decide that they want to do it or not. But they hadn't gone on the portal on me, so it really didn't affect me.
Matt Billy, how did you get him, and what can he bring to this team, not only from a skill perspective, but also with his experience just being valuable in the locker room?
Yeah, he's caught a ton of balls, and he's been through 2 coaching staffs, so he's had to learn a lot of offense. I'm excited about him as a return man, but he's a guy, his stature, people will think he's an inside receiver, but you watch him in the ACC, he's playing outside, he's playing inside. He's a guy that can, move the chains on third down. He's competitive. He's a guy, as I watched, to your point about the quarterbacks, I watch him mentor other people by doing the right thing himself and kind of bringing some young guys along the way. But we want to be dynamic in special teams. We want to score on special teams. I'm not saying we will. I'm saying we want to, just so everybody knows before everybody retweets that. But he's a big key to that, right? Because having a veteran punt returner, kick returner, especially in the conditions here, will be really important.
One more. You know how big you want the roster to be long-term, in terms of total players? We've seen it get to 155 all the way down to maybe 110, 115 over the years. Do you have an idea what you want your roster size to be long term?
Yeah, I think a lot of things about the roster are going to be determined just really via Title IX and some of the things, coming in terms of what we can do. So that's probably still working with the athletic department on that. I want to make sure we give kids an opportunity to play here, but also give every kid the right amount of resources. We're not going to have like a walk-on lifting session or a walk-on, like I was a walk-on. That just meant how I got on the team. That doesn't mean once they get here to me, they're non-scholarship players and scholarship players. So we have to make sure the roster is manageable enough that we can really give everybody the academic, life skills, football, training, recovery, resources that they deserve. But I don't know what that number necessarily will be yet. I think that's still, probably outside my purview.
What comment, if any, can you make about the story that broke today about potentially filing suit against the Carolina Panthers?
I can't comment on that. I'm sorry. I understand you have to ask that, but I can't. I'm sorry.
Coach, you signed Ismael Smith-Flores this week along with Jeremiah Charles. Both of them only 1 year of high school experience. What was that recruiting process like considering also you had their head coach as your tight ends?
Yeah, because, before I hired Bob, he called me about Ishmael. Said, hey, I got this kid. He only played 1 year. His dad is in the Iowa Football, I think, Hall of Fame. You should check him out. And then, kind of got to the end of the December period. Hadn't really done much with him. When Bob came, he showed him to us, and we were like, holy smokes. And he's visiting Iowa, he's visiting Rutgers. It seemed like with his dad, that might be a hard one, but with Bob there, maybe. And so, he was coming on a visit. We went down to watch him, play basketball. And we stopped by Bob's house beforehand, and his son was there, and his wife and daughter, and they were like, Jeremiah still hasn't signed anywhere yet, and he had gotten an offer, and Jeremiah, I think, triple jumped like 47, had an unofficial 51. So those numbers always make me kind of wake up. And we kind of walked in the gym. I looked down, looked like he was about 6'1". And then the game began, and my man just started dunking on everybody. And I was like, holy smokes. And I'm like, Coop. And Coop's like, I see it, Coach. And then Coop walked out, and I was like watching his film. And it's one of the benefits of the first year. Like, recruiting used to be that, you guys remember this, they used to wait till everybody's senior year. You watch their senior tape, watched who they were as 17-year-olds, and then you projected who they were going to be as 22. Now we're watching like 14-year-olds sometimes. And I don't know what you guys were like at 14, but I wasn't very coordinated. So, I think there's the last couple of years in the draft, where was I going to? Where were I looking? I was looking for guys at Northern Iowa, North Dakota State. I went to North Dakota State to see 2 first-rounders. And so how do those guys end up there? Well, sometimes guys just, they develop a little bit later. They hit maturity a little bit later. So I want to be a team. We want to recruit the top players in the country, but I never want to not look at guys' senior tape, because guys are going to pop their senior year. Sometimes they play 1 year. Sometimes, so I think our third guy that only played 1 year of football, and it's just kind of a cool story. But Bob certainly had a lot of influence in that. But those guys also came here and fell in love with the university and the opportunities on this campus.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Hey, yeah, birthday. So what do you?
Oh,
a guy like you had it happen in life. What do you do for your birthday? Do your kids do your kids get you presents?
They sent letters. They're not here, so they're still back in Charlotte. Okay. My wife flew in for the Huskers event and for my birthday, and we went to Dish downtown. Elite restaurant in this town. I don't know if you haven't been there. Go. Thanks.